Understanding my community. I work at New Mexico Junior College in Hobbs, New Mexico. Uh, People at NMJC are very religious. Christianity is the vast majority of people, probably 98, 97, 98% of people are Christian in the community. This is rural New Mexico, just across the border from Texas. Would be like West Texas. It's very conservative and more along the lines of what people would call a Bible Belt. People are very friendly here, but are not particularly worldly. They are patient, and there is a tendency to be used to a slower pace of life. Life here revolves around family, friends. Church is very important. People use local community facilities like pools, and the parks are popular for events on weekends. Sports are central to social life. That's when people get together over basketball games, baseball games, college games are very, very popular. Lifestyle shapes social action. So church and charity events surrounding church are at the heart of everything at NMJC and in Lee County. In terms of race, religion, origin, NMJC student body is a little over 40% Caucasian, a little over 40% Hispanic. They're about even, and the remainder are African American, Asian American, Native American. Religion is almost exclusively Christian. As said, Catholics, Baptists, and the Church of Christ are the most visible denominations. This is a conservative area, as just previously mentioned. This is the part of the country where there have been maps released in the media. I think Planned Parenthood was part of it, where you can see about 300 or some 350 miles to the nearest abortion clinic. There's this tract of land from North Dakota all the way down to New Mexico and Texas, and we are right in the middle of that. So change is slow here. People are very, very conservative. Conservative attitudes towards the role of women and these things remain very much in play. Okay, educational level. Local community is educated most frequently to high school level and not beyond. Faculty and staff are often proud of the fact at NMJC, there are two institutions of higher education in all of Lee County, and NMJC is one of them. We're among the most educated. It's something you hear sometimes staff bragging about. Certainly not myself. Age, enrollment, vitality, support. This is a very interesting community. It's the economy is fundamentally dependent on oil and gas, so enrollment growth is very difficult to come by. We look for online enrollment. Students are online. This is not like your average K through 12 institution. About half of our enrollment comes from online students. Half of NMJC students are non-traditional, are over the age of 25, or we have a lot of first-generation students. New Mexico is a more impoverished state. It's one of the poorest states in the country. Always ranks among the top 2 or 3 poorest states. So that is very obvious in the community, and we provide a vital function as a job training and as a vocational training area, and also as a core sort of educational foundation service provider for students who do want to go on to further higher education, though that is not super common. But student community vitality is elastic. We see student numbers and community numbers especially. Foreclosures go up as soon as the oil prices drop, and we see it's a boom and bust cycle here. It's an oil economy. We use distance learning to keep our enrollment stable, like I said. Student body is almost twice as many females as males. In terms of occupation, like I said, the oil and gas are the heart of employment and jobs in Lee County and in Hobbs. So when oil prices drop, people get laid off. They move out of town. Population is unstable. It's very unique. Race, creed, national, social tension, conflict, diversity issues. There are some community tensions between certain racial groups. The African American community sometimes has problems with the police here, and sometimes there's conflict between the Caucasian and African American communities and the Hispanic and Latino and African American communities. This is largely driven by these are economic competition reasons of that nature and poverty and things like that. Hobbs is majority Latino community. Caucasians are in the minority. College supports a student population that's predominantly Caucasian, Latino, and Christian. Types uses effectiveness of communication channels. This is a local. Most of our communication is done via our learning management systems as a higher education institution with more than 50% of our enrollment online. We communicate with our students that way, and we advertise through online, through Google, and we advertise online using search engines and things like that. Advertisements online. As far as local advertisements, the Hobbs News Sun is the only local paper. It's a small town. College radio station is FM 100.9. We do a lot of advertising and connection and communication with the community through radio station. Many of the college's senior administrators, particularly the president, are prominent members of the business, social, and even government communities. Dr. McCleary has close relationships with various legislators at the state level and at the local level. We've had the congressman for our district. There are 2 or 3 in all of New Mexico congressmen. Obviously 2 senators, but I believe there are only 3 congressmen in all of New Mexico. The one for our region has come and visited the college. We use AM and FM radio advertisements, so you can find our advertisements on other radio stations other than our own, and the local paper is used frequently. We don't do too much television in the way of television advertisement. Much of what we do communication-wise is done in English and Spanish for obvious reasons. Radio, television, and the local paper for locals are really at the heart. This is a conservative community. People are not very technologically oriented in this area, so we don't have lots of people downloading the latest apps and talking about their use of those such things. Radio, television, those more traditional mass media, rather than Web 2.0 and some of the other newer communications channels. We belong to the New Mexico public education, specifically the higher public ed sector. We work closely with other institutions of higher education, University of New Mexico, and we're closely involved with businesses, oil and gas, Chamber of Commerce, Hobbs Chamber of Commerce, Eunice Chamber of Commerce. We have a lot of involvement in those activities and in helping to stir up business opportunities in the area through the College Foundation and through connections to the J.F. Maddox Foundation. NMJC is heavily influenced by state and federal level trends, the standards trends that are affecting education across the board in the United States. That's hitting us as well. We also work closely with the J.F. Maddox Foundation with regard to curriculum and things like that in the area, because they provide they're at the heart of a lot of our funding. We are informally connected with United Way through the president, who is involved with a lot of their activities, volunteer work with them, and Rotarians, and also the Chambers of Commerce. We work with local companies, organizations, and other institutions. The J.F. Maddox Foundation provides scholarships to students to help them move on, and after NMJC, go on and finish their bachelor's degrees and even pursue further education. We work with local companies to try to find jobs for students, and we have counseling departments and others. We do the best that we can to ensure that our students are prepared for a world that is sometimes dangerous. So, problem organizations, we're very popular in the community. There is one interest group, the Rio Grande Foundation, based out of Albuquerque, that periodically complains about higher ed institutions and salaries and things like that. But other than that, we really don't get a lot of negative feedback or publicity. Mostly in the Lee County community, which is a poor community, people tend to be very appreciative of whatever the college is able to provide. Leadership, Steve McCleary, the president of NMJC, is at the heart of everything. He is not just a college president. He has led a major initiative to build a large state-of-the-art exercise and pool facility for the community. The J.F. Maddox Foundation brings the CEO of the J.X. Maddox Foundation is often on the campus and is very close friends with Dr. McCleary. And we see other really some periodically people of government from government, the Lee County Commissioners on the board, the Lee County Clerk. We see a lot of that type of involvement. We also get a lot of involvement. Faculty, we encourage faculty, staff, students, and community members. There's volunteer opportunities throughout the year for events and things like that. Community leaders rely on age, experience, and status within the community. Accessibility is extremely important. It's a small town, so people like to be able to talk to the president, and that's one of his best. It's always described as one of his best features. Senior leadership is directly connected to and interacts with local and state government constantly. Leaders do not, because this is a collaborative environment, we must always be focused on collaboration. There is not always an iron fist approach to what we do. There's a lot of soft power type negotiations going on. Income from taxes on oil and gas drive our budgets. Everything is on hold until the economy improves as a result of oil price rise. Communities rural and isolated. There is an airport. Public transport is sparse, but there is a shuttle system. Agriculture is important in neighboring communities, but Hobbs itself is too arid and the soil quality is not suited to agriculture. Employment is very dynamic as a result of oil prices, so it's unstable. Wage conditions are the same. New Mexico is one of the poorer states. Land is widely available and is cheap. Property values are prone to extreme appreciation, though, because during periods of boom, housing shortages are a real problem because banks will not lend for residential projects as a result of the boom and bust nature of the economy. NMJC serves as a central training, certification, and business development hub with its own foundation. The NMJC Foundation sponsors business in the community. Politics and education are inextricable, basically. We are directly involved with legislative initiatives that affect our funding and other things, and we send up representatives constantly to Santa Fe and to Albuquerque to represent us in government and at the state level. Much of the economy of New Mexico is driven by federal and state public spending, public dollars. So it is a poor state. That's unique. There are periodic social tensions between African American residents and sometimes the police. That's really where you most see it. Gangs are oriented around drugs. Within the NMJC community, cliques are really athletic cliques. It's not a very cliquish community, and people tend to be pretty friendly, and that's a very nice feature of the college itself. Traditional and cultural and religious values do create discriminatory climates for women. Women are often expected to stay at home and take care of the children, and those of non-religious Christian faiths and the lesbians, gays, people of those types of people that are of the LGBTQ community, they tend to find that this is not the most open environment. A lot of times, economic and religious reasons kind of drive this. We get our information. A lot of it's oriented around the Higher Learning Commission and other accreditation bodies. We have an institutional effectiveness office that does a lot of our CESA surveys, community college student engagement, NOAA Levitt surveys, but we do a lot of surveys that are institutional and that go to proving our purposes and our justifying our funding. We are closely tied to the community. It's a comprehensive community college, and the president is constantly touting our connections to the community in the sense that we volunteer, we provide community events, and we train for most of the business community in the area. We provide facilities and yes, equipment. So it's definitely a political area. Local leaders benefit from close involvement in charities, churches, and other active participants. Everything is